Good afternoon. Today's experiment is determination of chemical oxygen demand of given wastewater sample. So this is the last experiment under volumetric analysis. So from next class, I'll be starting instrumental analysis. Okay. So the aim of this experiment is to determine chemical oxygen demand, which is one of the important water quality parameters. So what is water quality parameters? So these are the parameters from which one can determine the quality of water. So there are three important water quality parameters: COD, BOD, DO. So I'll be explaining what is COD, what is BOD, and what is DOD, just to know their importance. But what is the aim of the experiment? To determine COD, that is chemical oxygen demand, which is also an important water quality parameter. So what is wastewater? So wastewater is the water which cannot be used for domestic usage or for agricultural practice or for industrial usage. So wastewater is the water which is highly contaminated that can be discharged by household activities or industrial activities. Example for wastewater are municipal wastewater or the water which is discharged by industries. For example, it can be chemical industries or it can be manufacturing industries or beverage industries. So the water is said to be highly contaminated if it consists of impurities, which may be both organic and inorganic, that can be chemically oxidizable or biologically oxidizable. So the principle involved in the determination of COD is the impurities which are present in water, which are chemically or biologically oxidizable, can be oxidized, okay, through an oxidation process in presence of oxygen. As a result, these impurities are oxidized, that results in the formation of oxidized products. So by knowing how much amount of oxygen is required for the oxidation of these impurities which are present in water, one can determine the amount of impurities present in water. So what it indicates, higher the amount of impurities present in water, higher is the contamination. So oxygen demand. So oxygen demand means water demands oxygen. If water demands more oxygen, that indicates water consists of high percentage of impurities which can be oxidized. But what are the possible impurities that are present in water? So impurities that can be chemically oxidized or biologically oxidized. So these impurities can be oxidized in presence of oxygen. So by knowing the amount of oxygen required for the oxidation of these impurities, one can determine the amount of impurities present in the water. So that is a principle of chemical oxygen demand. So chemical oxygen demand, the demand for oxygen by the water due to the presence of impurities which can be chemically oxidizable. Okay, now let me know what is this chemical oxygen demand, what is biological oxygen demand, and what is dissolved oxygen, and how they are related. So chemical oxygen demand, abbreviated as COD, is the amount of oxygen required in ppm for complete oxidation of both organic and inorganic impurities which are chemically oxidizable present in liter of wastewater by using strong chemical reagent like acidified potassium dichromate at 60 degrees Celsius for a period of 1 to 2 hours. Okay, so chemical oxygen demand, okay, is a water quality parameter in which we are going to determine the amount of oxygen required for the complete oxidation of both organic and inorganic impurities present in liter of wastewater by using a strong chemical reagent. So only it is called as chemical oxygen demand. Okay, so chemical indicates what? It is a chemical process in which we use a strong chemical reagent such as acidified potassium dichromate, and the process is carried out at 60 degrees Celsius for a period of 1 to 2 hours. Okay, so we are going to determine how much amount of oxygen is required, which can oxidize both organic and inorganic impurities that are chemically oxidizable. Okay, and what is the unit used to express chemical oxygen demand? Since it is a water quality parameter, it is always expressed in terms of ppm. What is ppm? It is milligram per liter. But COD is expressed in terms of amount of oxygen, which is to be calculated in ppm. Therefore, what is the unit of chemical oxygen demand? It is the ppm of oxygen. Okay, it is expressed in terms of ppm of oxygen or in terms of milligram of oxygen per liter of wastewater. Okay, this is what you mean by chemical oxygen demand. Then we will see what is biological oxygen demand. So both chemical oxygen demand and biological oxygen demand are important to know the total waste present in wastewater. Okay, to know the total waste present in wastewater, but COD is more convenient to perform when compared to BOD. Now, what is this BOD? BOD is biological oxygen demand. So, biological indicates what? It is a biological process. So, which is defined as the amount of oxygen required in ppm for complete oxidation of only organic waste. Okay, for complete oxidation of only organic waste, which is present in liter of wastewater by using microorganisms. Okay, such as bacteria, at a temperature of 20 degrees Celsius for a period of 5 days. Okay. So what is BOD? It is the amount of oxygen required for complete oxidation of only organic waste present in liter of wastewater by using microorganisms at 20 degrees Celsius for a period of 5 days. Since it is also a water quality parameter, it is also expressed in terms of ppm of oxygen. Okay. So very simple. COD is a chemical process, whereas BOD is a biological process. And also there is one more important water quality parameter, that is dissolved oxygen. So dissolved oxygen plays a very important role in water because, so dissolved oxygen is essential, right? So dissolved oxygen is nothing but the amount of atmospheric oxygen which is dissolved in water, which is essential for aquatic life for their survival. Okay, but the dissolved oxygen level decreases. Why the dissolved oxygen level decreases? If the amount of impurities in water increases. Remember here, higher the dissolved oxygen, more pure is the water. Okay, higher the dissolved oxygen, more pure is the water, but dissolved oxygen level decreases when the impurities increases. Okay, this is why, because if impurity level increases in water, those impurities consumes dissolved oxygen during biological oxidation process. As a result, the dissolved oxygen level decreases in water, which can further affect the life of the animals present in water. Okay, so what we can say in general, so increase in COD and BOD level of water decreases DO level in water. Okay, COD and BOD level increases with increase in contamination. Okay, as the contamination of water increases, COD and BOD level increases. If COD and BOD level increases, definitely DO level decreases. So this is how COD and BOD can affect the aquatic life. Okay, therefore it is very, very important to know the amount of impurities present in water, okay, which can be further discharged into water source. Okay, now you got to know what is COD, what is BOD, and what is DO, and how COD and BOD are related to DO. Very simple. With increase in COD and BOD level, DO level decreases. Okay, we go through the next slide. So next slide, it is for your reference. I have given a few differences between chemical oxygen demand and biological oxygen demand. So you just go through it. Okay, this is for your reference. So I have mentioned so many differences. As I already mentioned, COD is more convenient to perform when compared to BOD, and also have given what are the differences between COD and BOD. In the definition itself, we have discussed, right? COD can be used to determine both organic and inorganic impurities, which are both biodegradable and non-biodegradable. Whereas BOD, it is a biological process which can be used to determine only biodegradable impurities that constitutes only organic impurities. Remember here, when you determine COD and BOD, always COD is greater than BOD. Is that clear? COD is always greater than BOD. This is why, because COD is a chemical process which can measure the total load of impurities present in the water, because it can determine both biodegradable and non-biodegradable impurities that constitutes both organic and inorganic impurities. Whereas in BOD, it is a biological process which determines only biodegradable impurities that constitutes organic impurities. Okay, and also have given some more differences. You just go through it. Okay, this is for your reference. These differences I have given for your reference. But remember, both COD and BOD are calculated in terms of ppm of oxygen. Why COD is more convenient to perform when compared to BOD? So COD, it requires less time as it can be completed in 1 to 2 hours, but BOD requires long time. Long time means it requires minimum 5 days. Okay, it is a long time process. And one more important difference is COD can be carried out in open environment. You can carry out in any environment, but BOD requires a specific environment. BOD should not be carried out in open environment. It should be carried out in closed environment because we use microorganism. Okay, a pathogenic bacteria we may use in the process which may contaminate the environment and may cause health effects in the performer. Therefore, it should be carried out in a closed environment. Okay, so these are some of the differences between COD and BOD. You can go through it later. Now I directly move to the procedure. Okay, so of course, the first part of the procedure is preparation of standard solution. In the determination of chemical oxygen demand, the standard solution used is Morse salt, also known as ferrous ammonium sulfate. So first part of the procedure is preparation of standard Morse salt solution, that is standard FAS solution. Okay, how to prepare the standard FAS solution? So procedure is similar, but only the difference is you are supposed to take a known weight of FAS crystals, which should be dissolved in distilled water along with 1 test tube of dilute sulfuric acid. Because FAS should not be prepared directly in water, it should be dissolved in minimum volume of distilled water in the presence of 1 test tube of dilute sulfuric acid. Okay, after complete dissolution of FAS crystals in water and sulfuric acid, then you have to make it up to the mark in 250 cc standard flask to get 250 cc standard FAS solution. Remember here, while preparing FAS solution, you should add 1 test tube of sulfuric acid. Okay, and then you have to dissolve it. This is why, because sulfuric acid is added to prevent hydrolysis of FAS in water. Okay, if you prepare FAS directly in water, FAS undergoes hydrolysis and gets converted to ferrous hydroxide. Okay, but we require ferrous sulfate, ferrous ammonium sulfate as a standard solution. So to avoid the precipitation of ferrous sulfate as ferrous hydroxide, we add this sulfuric acid. So what the sulfuric acid does, it prevents the hydrolysis of FAS in water. That is the only reason for adding sulfuric acid while preparing FAS solution. So what is this FAS? What is this Morse salt? FAS means ferrous ammonium sulfate, which is a double salt. Double salt means it is a combination of ammonium salt and ferrous sulfate with 6 moles of water. So what is the molecular weight of FAS? The molecular weight as well as its equivalent weight is equal to 392. Okay, as you call it as a standard solution, you should know its strength or concentration, which is calculated in terms of normality. So how to calculate normality of FAS? Normality of FAS is equal to weight of FAS taken into 4 divided by equivalent weight of FAS, that is 392. Okay, so equivalent weight or molecular weight of FAS is same, that is 392. So we calculate strength of FAS in terms of normality. Let me take this value as Z normal. Remember, the normality of FAS is taken as Z normal. Okay, so this is the first part of the procedure. Now we go to the second part of the procedure, that is estimation of chemical oxygen demand by back titration method. See, you people got to know how to do direct titration, how to perform indirect titration, how to carry out titration by using external indicator. Today you are going to find out how COD is determined by back titration method. So in this experiment, you are supposed to perform 2 types of titration, namely back titration, or which is the main titration, and blank titration. You are supposed to perform these 2 types of titration. Back titration, in which volume consumed is taken as V1, blank titration, in which volume consumed is taken as V2. So note this point. See, in exam, you no need to perform this blank titration. Okay, you no need to perform this blank titration, but to calculate COD, blank titer value must be known to you. Okay, so this blank titer value will be given to you. You no need to perform it, but you are supposed to perform back titration 3 times. Okay, in order to find out V1 value. So before I discuss what is blank titration, let me just go through what is back titration and how the titration is performed here. Okay, so what should be taken in burette? Prepared standard solution. Which is a standard solution used here? Standard FAS solution. Okay, fill the burette with standard FAS solution. Then what should be taken in conical flask? Yeah, of course, our test solution. Which is a test solution here? Wastewater. So pipette out 25 cc of wastewater, followed by the addition of 5 cc of K2Cr2O7, 1 test tube of sulfuric acid, along with you are adding silver sulfate and mercuric sulfate. So what should be taken in conical flask? 25 cc of wastewater, okay, that consists of unknown concentration of impurities, to which you should add 5 cc of potassium dichromate, 1 test tube of sulfuric acid. Along with sulfuric acid, you are adding silver sulfate and mercuric sulfate. So these are the reagents what you are going to add to this solution. Then you have to add a few drops of ferroin indicator. So what is the name of the indicator added here? Ferroin. Now, what is this wastewater consists of? Unknown concentration of impurities, for which you are going to add a strong chemical reagent, that is potassium dichromate. What is potassium dichromate? It is a strong oxidizing agent, and this potassium dichromate is added to the wastewater to bring about the oxidation of impurities present in wastewater. But under what condition this potassium dichromate acts as a strong oxidizing agent? Under acidic medium. Therefore, you are supposed to add 1 test tube of sulfuric acid. So what is the role of sulfuric acid? To maintain acidic medium so that potassium dichromate can strongly oxidize the impurities present in wastewater. Along with sulfuric acid, there are also 2 reagents you are going to add. Silver sulfate. So what's the role of silver sulfate? Just follow the note what I have written. So silver sulfate is used as a catalyst. What is catalyst? The reagent which can increase the rate of reaction without involving in the reaction. So silver sulfate is used as a catalyst, particularly to increase the oxidation of some stable organic impurities, okay, which cannot be easily oxidized under normal condition. But in the presence of silver sulfate, some specific organic impurities can be oxidized, okay, at a faster rate. So what is the role of silver sulfate? It is used as a catalyst. Then mercuric sulfate, HgSO4. What is the role of mercuric sulfate? So mercuric sulfate is used as a masking agent. Okay, it is used as a masking agent, which is used to mask the unwanted ions which may be present in wastewater. Okay, say for example, if your wastewater consists of any amount of chloride ions, Cl minus ions, so this Cl minus ions may interfere in the reaction. How it may interfere in the reaction? It converts silver sulfate into silver chloride. Okay, it precipitates silver sulfate into silver chloride and may reduce the activity of silver sulfate catalyst. Actually, we require silver sulfate, right? But this silver sulfate may get precipitated as silver chloride if wastewater consists of chloride ions. So to block these chloride ions, we add this mercuric sulfate. So mercuric sulfate reacts with chloride ions and forms mercury chloride. A stable mercury chloride is formed, and thereby avoiding the precipitation of silver sulfate as silver chloride. Okay, so what is mercuric sulfate? It is used as a masking agent. What is silver sulfate? It is used as a catalyst. Okay, then you have to add a few drops of indicator. What is the indicator used? Ferroin indicator. Okay, soon after adding ferroin indicator into the solution, the color changes to somewhat like bluish green in the beginning of the titration. Okay, now this solution must be titrated against standard FAS solution until you observe a reddish brown color. So what is the end point of the titration? Bluish green to reddish brown. So when you get reddish brown color, that indicates your end point. So this is very, very interesting. So the change in color of the solution is mainly due to the change in state of the indicator. So follow the note 3. So ferroin indicator. So ferroin indicator, its chemical name is 1,10-phenanthroline iron sulfate complex, which is a coordination compound that consists of 1,10-phenanthroline as an organic ligand, which is bonded to central metal ion, that is iron. Okay. Here, iron exhibits 2 stable oxidation state. One is in +2 state and another one is +3 state. So if iron is present in +2 state, the color of the ferroin indicator is deep red. So this is the most stable state of the indicator. Okay, the deep red color is the most stable state of the indicator, which is deep red in color. But if iron is present in +3 oxidation state, then the color of the indicator is pale blue. So the change in color of this solution is due to change in oxidation state of iron of the indicator. If iron is present in +2, what is the color of the indicator? Deep red. If iron is present in +3 state, what is the color of the indicator? Pale blue. Which is the most stable state of the indicator? Of course, it is deep red color. Okay. Now you see Your solution in the conical flask consists of wastewater, which is treated with K2Cr2O7, right? And depending upon the concentration of impurities present in wastewater, some volume of K2Cr2O7 is consumed by wastewater. Suppose if any amount of K2Cr2O7 is left unconsumed out of 5 cc, if any amount of K2Cr2O7 is left unconsumed, okay, to this unconsumed K2Cr2O7, when you add deep red color ferroin indicator, the color changes to blue. That is because of the reduced form of indicator changes to oxidized form of indicator in the presence of K2Cr2O7, which is an oxidizing agent. Right now, unreacted K2Cr2O7 means the K2Cr2O7 which is left unconsumed by the wastewater. So when indicator is added to this unreacted K2Cr2O7, the indicator changes to its oxidized form, giving bluish green color. Now this reaction mixture, which is bluish green in color, must be titrated against FAS. So what this FAS does? FAS starts reacting with the unreacted K2Cr2O7 in presence of sulfuric acid, and ferrous sulfate reduces potassium dichromate, and ferrous sulfate gets oxidized to ferric sulfate, which is simple redox reaction. So what are the products of the reaction? Potassium sulfate, chromium sulfate, this is ferric sulfate. Ferrous sulfate to ferric sulfate, which is an oxidation, and here chromium plus 6 is reduced to chromium 3 plus. So due to change of chromium from plus 6 state to plus 3 state, the color appears to be green in color. Okay, the green color is due to chromium 3 plus ions, and blue color is due to oxidized form of indicator. So as soon as you add Fa solution, the K2Cr2O7 undergoes reduction. So at the end point, what happens? When all K2Cr2O7 is completely reduced by FAs, so the indicator goes back to its stable form. Which is a stable form of indicator? That is deep red. Okay, therefore at the end point, it appears to be reddish brown. So why reddish? Reddish color is due to the reduced form of indicator, and white is brown due to the presence of chromium ions. So what is the end point of the titration? Bluish green to reddish brown. So in the beginning, the reaction mixture consists of oxidized form of indicator in the presence of unreacted K2Cr2O7, but at the end point, when all K2Cr2O7 is exhausted, when all K2Cr2O7 is consumed by FAs, so there is no K2Cr2O7 left in the solution. So what happens to the indicator? It goes back to its original form. What is the original form of indicator? That is a stable form of indicator. That is ferrocystate. As a result, it imparts red color to the solution. Okay, this is how you have to perform your experiment. So when FAs is titrated with K2Cr2O7, a simple redox reaction occurs in presence of sulfuric acid. So ferrous sulfate is oxidized to ferric sulfate, and chromium plus 6 is reduced to chromium plus 3. Okay, this is how you have to perform your back titration. Similarly, a blank titration is performed. So just take the same standard FAS solution on the burette. Then what should be taken in conical flask? Blank titration means it is the titration which is performed without taking test sample. So the only difference between back and blank titration is in back titration you are taking test solution, whereas in blank titration you are not taking test solution. So which is the test solution in this case? Of course it is wastewater. Then what should be taken in blank titration? Just take 5 cc of K2Cr2O7 accurately. Remember here, both in blank and back titration, you should take K2Cr2O7 5 cc accurately. Okay, so blank titration is performed in the absence of wastewater. 5 cc of K2Cr2O7 followed by the addition of 1 test tube of sulfuric acid, add few drops of ferroin indicator. So what will be the end point of the titration? It is the same once again, bluish green to reddish brown. Bluish green is due to the presence of unreacted K2Cr2O7 and oxidized form of indicator, and at the end point it is reddish brown color due to the reduced form of indicator. Okay, this is how to perform your titration. By doing back titration in which the volume consumed is taken as V1 and blank titration in which volume consumed is taken as V2. What's the difference between back and blank titration? Back titration is the titration which is performed by taking wastewater sample. Blank titration is the titration which is performed without taking wastewater sample. Okay. Then by knowing back titer value and blank titer value, we are supposed to calculate COD. So let me discuss how to calculate COD by knowing V1 and V2 volumes. Okay. Yeah. Now let me discuss what is this V1 and what is V2. because it is a back titration method, right? So back titration means it is a titration in which the COD is calculated indirectly. So what is V1 ml? V1 ml is the blank back titer value. What is V1? It is back titer value. So V1 is equivalent to the volume of FAS which is consumed in the titration, which is equivalent to the volume of potassium dichromate, which is left unreacted. Which is left unreacted means the part of the potassium dichromate which is not consumed by wastewater. Say for example, we have taken 5 cc of K2Cr2O7, right? Out of 5 cc of K2Cr2O7, if few ml of K2Cr2O7 is left unreacted, which is not consumed by wastewater, so that volume of K2Cr2O7 will be equivalent to the volume of FAS, which is consumed in back titer value, that is V1. Okay, what is V1? V1 is the volume of FAS which is equivalent to volume of K2Cr2O7, which is partially left unreacted. That means the part of potassium dichromate which is not consumed by wastewater, because part of the potassium dichromate is consumed by wastewater, whereas part of the potassium dichromate is not consumed by wastewater. The part of the potassium dichromate which is not consumed by wastewater gets reacted with FAS. That gives you V1. Then what is V2? V2 is the blank titer value which is done in the absence of wastewater. So no wastewater is taken. Therefore, V2 becomes equivalent to the volume of FAS, which is equivalent to volume of K2Cr2O7, which is totally left unreacted. Why totally left unreacted? Because no wastewater is taken. So in the first case, partially potassium dichromate is unreacted because we have taken wastewater. Whereas in the case of V2, potassium dichromate is totally left unreacted because no wastewater is taken. Now, you take the difference. So, V2 is greater than V1, right? Because V2 is equivalent to total 5 cc of K2Cr2O7, whereas V1 is equivalent to partial K2Cr2O7. So, definitely V2 will be greater than V1. That is, remember, blank titer value is always greater than back titer value. So we take a difference of blank titer value and back titer value, that is V2 minus V1. So what this V2 minus V1 gives you? V2 minus V1 is equal to volume of FAS which is consumed in the titration, which becomes equivalent to the volume of K2Cr2O7 which is actually consumed by wastewater. Because we don't know what is the amount of impurities present in wastewater, corresponding to that amount of impurities present, some volume of K2Cr2O7 is consumed by wastewater. See, the volume of K2Cr2O7 which is consumed by wastewater cannot be determined directly. So we go for back titration method. We do back titration, we do blank titration, then we take the difference. So what this difference gives you? The volume of K2Cr2O7 which is actually consumed by wastewater. Okay. Now you got to know what is V1, what is V2, why V2 is greater than V1, and what we are going to find out by taking the difference of V2 minus V1. So what V2 minus V1 actually gives you? It gives you the volume of K2Cr2O7 actually consumed by wastewater. Now by knowing this V2 minus V1, we are going to find out COD, okay, using the standard conversion factor. So what is the conversion factor used here? 1000 cc of 1 normal FAS. What is normal? Gram equivalent weight of the solute per liter of the solution. So 1000 cc of 1 normal FAS, which is used as a standard solution, is equivalent to 1 gram equivalent weight of oxygen. Since we have taken normality, we should consider equivalent weight of the oxygen. So what is equivalent weight of oxygen? That is 8 gram. So 1000 cc of 1 normal FAS is equivalent to 8 gram of oxygen. Therefore, 1 cc of 1 normal FAS will be equivalent to 8 milligram of oxygen. Okay. So 1000 cc is equivalent to 8 gram. Therefore, 1 cc is equivalent to 8 milligram. Therefore, V2 minus V1 cc of Z normal FAS will be equivalent to V2 minus V1 into Z into 8 milligram of oxygen. So what is V2 minus V1? The difference of blank titer value and back titer value. And what is Z? What is Z? So Z is the normality of FAS which is calculated. So substitute what is Z value, substitute what is V2 minus V1 value. When it is multiplied by 8, you are going to get Y milligram of oxygen. So Y is the amount of oxygen in milligram per 25 cc. This is why, because we have taken 25 cc of wastewater in the titration. So through this calculation, you are going to get Y milligram of oxygen, which is present in 25 cc of wastewater. But we need to calculate the amount of oxygen per liter. Therefore, COD will be equivalent to Y milligram of oxygen into 1000 divided by 25. So substitute what is Y value, which is the amount of oxygen in milligram per 25 cc, multiplied by 1000 divided by 25. So what you are going to get? The amount of oxygen in milligram per liter. Okay, the amount of oxygen in milligram per liter, which gives you ppm of oxygen. Okay, that gives you COD. So what is COD? It is the amount of oxygen required in ppm for complete oxidation of both organic and inorganic impurities. Okay, this is how you have to calculate COD by back titration method.